All right, hey folks, welcome to another episode of In the Trenches. I know it's been a long as hell since we've done one of these episodes, but basically I got really busy doing CSGO events throughout June, and originally this show was going to be like me, Lex, and Davey, normally, and then be like a guest, but Lex has been super busy, Davey's been super busy. However, I have two other really cool people to join me for this episode because we have a lot to talk about. We got Major Update 2, we got some lands coming up, and I was able to get a representative of both major regions, I guess, in Battalion. So I got Rebirth here, who is the newest member of what is now Method, the former Assy-Ass team, the Albano Cats in a Snowstorm, which I'm going to personally say it's sad that I will not be able to call you guys Assy-Ass anymore because I think that was the greatest shorthand team name of all time, but I may still slip it in there every now and then. And then we have Vic from Primal, which has basically become the number one team in North America over the last few months. When you look at some of the most recent league play from like the Plays Community League and stuff like that, they kind of, were able to top the boards of that league, and they're going to be heading to Fragadelphia as probably one of the favorites. So I was able to get a representative of each region, which is really cool. And now I'm going to let each kind of introduce themselves, give you a little bit of background information if you're not familiar with these guys. So we'll start with Rebirth. Maybe you can tell the people out there just a little bit about where you come from and how you got where you are.
I'm Rebirth from the Netherlands. I've been playing Call of Duty 4 3 years after the release. Didn't really finish anywhere high in events yet, as I started pretty late. And now I'm trying my luck with the now Method team in Battalion.
Yeah, and of course you were playing on a couple of other teams in Battalion. I guess people would know you from like Diffuse Kids because you were playing alongside like the Leader and Zuma, which were some of the guys that used to play on The Bang, which was like a team in Europe that was doing pretty well in the earliest tournaments for like the plays and stuff like that I was casting, at least that I remember. So yeah, a guy who's been around. Well. Yeah, still doing well. So there you go. And then now let's talk a little bit about Vic. Vic, again, you're over there on Primal. Maybe tell us a little bit about where you kind of came from and how you got here.
Well, I basically grew up playing like Medal of Honor, the original Call of Duties. The first game I really like plunged into was Call of Duty 2. I think the highest I achieved now is Cal I. Other than that, I've been looking for a good FPS to play since, and hopefully Battalion's it.
Yeah, and so maybe we can talk a little bit about how your team kind of rose up in NA, because I think for the longest time it was kind of like Lex's team was always kind of up top, when he was originally with like Spurks and JC Stani and Fox Rocks, who's now your teammate, and then Grego, and then of course Fox Rocks kind of left that team. That's whenever they picked up like Hero, I think, and then of course he kind of joined you guys, and then you guys kind of really rose up the ranks with some of your players. So maybe you can talk about that passing of the torch in North America real quick.
Right, okay. So yeah, basically our team's probably got the longest standing roster. Fox Rocks didn't fit in with Lex's team, and I guess they were looking for a replacement, and we were glad to take him. I mean, he's definitely one of the top fraggers on our team. Yeah, he's a great fit. I was really grateful to have him, actually. Other than that, we've been undefeated so far in the last, I don't even know how many months, probably 3. So, I mean, hopefully we can carry that over to Fragadelphia.
Right, and then of course Rebirth, you're coming into the Albano Cats in a Snowstorm, which was a team that I think in the community league placed like kind of around the 5th, 6th spot. And they were a team though that had won some tournaments from like I think it was like Fast Frags and some of these other tournaments. They had actually won a couple, had a couple top 3 placings, and obviously a storied lineup of players. Right, when you go back to like older versions of Call of Duty, particularly like Davey Ignaler, like known from Call of Duty 2, Toxia, like a really good SMG player from Call of Duty 4. So you're kind of enjoying like a storied lineup that has a lot of Call of Duty experience and that has done pretty well in Battalion so far. So maybe talk to me a little bit about that experience, like coming onto the team.
Coming onto the team is pretty hard, as you have to fulfill a role that was previously filled in by Supreme, which is a really good player. But yeah, just been trying to work with these guys, forming some strats, basically filling a huge role in the team. As sometimes I have to play a bomb side on my own, which is not really my play style. But yeah, it's been nothing but good. It's been perfect.
That's great to hear. Now, one of the crazy things about all of this is we had these lands coming up, but they're going to be played on Major Update 2, which is a pretty drastic overhaul of the game. And there's really been no official competition since MU2 dropped. It's really just been in beta. since it's come out. And so I know people have been scrimming on Major Update 2 quite a lot in preparation for like Gallantry coming up on the European side of things, Fragadelphia on the NA side. Those are both qualifiers for the Major, by the way, so that those events now have a little bit more weight to them than just being like grassroots fun events to play in. Now you get a slot to the biggest event that the game is going to have this year. So there's a lot on the line on that. And so I figured the discussion that we should naturally take because of that is to talk a little bit about Major Update 2, what's changed to the game, and then basically get your guys' take on it, because obviously you've been playing scrims and pickup games with MU2. We've had it out for a little while now, so I feel like we are at a point where we can have opinions about it and actually get some feedback about how things are going. And so I guess we'll start with like something really easy to talk about. I don't think we'll spend too much time on this topic, which is just the graphical overhaul was like one of the biggest visual things to this game that's changed. Obviously, we have new character models for both Axis and Allies. They've added like differences to the character model as far as what it looks like in first person. Now you have like gloves and like long sleeves. Also, the gun models look a little bit different in some ways. And, this has also led to other just graphical updates to the game at large. There's a lot more options now in the video settings menu on what you can tweak and how you can make the game look as far as like lighting and colors and quality, I guess you could say, whether you want it to be like low and simple, like most competitive players like to have, or whether you want to go all out with, ultra graphics and all that good stuff. So kind of what's your general take so far on how things look now, I guess is the best way to put it. We'll start with you, Rebirth.
Graphic-wise, the game has gone. It's become way better. Still have to find my way through all the options you have in the menus. Only problem I have though is the player model visibility.
Mm-hmm.
I've been tweaking my config. Vic's been using my config as well, as I thought I had really good visibility. But still, there's moments where people are just proning down on the ground, hiding behind a sandbag, and I just can't see them. There's no way I can see them. I honestly wouldn't mind if they had a yellow or red jeans on, but that's my only problem at the moment with the graphics. Other than that, it's been amazing.
Yeah, Vic. So you want to chime in on that?
Yeah, like you were saying, the graphical update is pretty amazing, considering what it was before, especially for those casual players that'll be coming in the game in the future. They tend to like things a little bit more shiny and, colorful, so definitely good. And I also like the fact that you can tweak it for more of the competitive side, I guess, without all the shadows and the glare off the sun and off the ground. So yeah, definitely great job with the update in that respect. Yeah, the models I agree with. Even with using Rebirth's config and his magic touches, still tough to see everything. But I mean, it helps. But yeah, I think they did revise the models maybe once. I'm not sure if that little mini patch they changed the colors.
Only the allies.
Yeah, just the allies. That's right. Yeah, because they used to be like the same color as the walls on Manor, and you couldn't see them at all. Like there's no way to pick them out. But yeah, I mean, I'm kind of on board with him and what he said about the model change, colors-wise.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they know that this is a problem, from what I can tell, because I had like a small conversation on Twitter with Brammer, just in general about Major Update 2, and one of the big things I brought up was indeed that, yes, the game looks graphically better, and I think we're all happy about that, even if we're not personally going to really tap into that, because, again, we like to play more competitively, so we're just going to go, like, what's the most simple, what's going to get us the most FPS on our rig, whereas, it still needs to look good for broadcasting, I think, is, like, the biggest thing, because if people are going to actually spectate this game and watch tournaments, they're going to want the game to at least be on the same level as Counter-Strike Global Offensive, right? Like, you can't have a game that looks like it came from the year 2000 and still expect people to want to watch it be played. But for the competitors, they probably don't really give a shit. But you still want it to look good for the broadcast and for people who do want a good-looking game when they're playing casually, as Vic was kind of noting. But yeah, I think the biggest hurdle is I think we're all happy about it, about how the graphics have been updated. But the one big problem we do have is that, yes, character models are pretty hard to see. I think the biggest problem for me is not just seeing them on walls and stuff like that or laying on the ground, which is already difficult, but it's hard for me to tell them apart. Like, if it wasn't for the name flashing above somebody's head, Bro, let me just tell you how many team kills I've gotten because of this. There was one pug I played last night where I hit the sickest midair headshot with the scope on somebody, but guess what? It was my teammate because he was flying through a smoke out of a building, so his name didn't show up yet above his head. So I just thought it was a bad guy, so I just popped his head off. Nope, it was a team kill. I'm like, oh shit, like, my bad, man. Like, I for sure thought you were an enemy. And so I think
was in that pug.
yeah, it was a nice shot. Like, you know, you got to give me props, but it was on the wrong person. So it's one of those things where that's becoming, I don't know if team killing is actually that big of a problem for you guys, if it's really that bad, but it's definitely an issue when you're having a hard time telling models apart from each other in the heat of the moment. I think when people come out of smoke grenades, it takes a second as well for names to pop up, right?
We have something called doing a Davy.
Okay, I can't wait to hear this. Good old, is it about taking a poo pregame? That was a good interview.
No,
that was a fire
that's just
interview.
a standard routine.
Yeah.
But there was one moment where he was prone and on the ground. I think it was a 3v1 situation. We were the three alive. The guy literally, he just walked through his screen. He literally went I think it was on derailed. He walked from the bomb towards bottom cinema. David was just looking right at him. He even saw one of his teammates, so a different player model, on his screen, and he couldn't tell. He couldn't tell it was the enemy, and he just let him walk by. That's called doing a Davy.
I'm glad you shared that story with us. But it's a good example, and I think that that's fair enough that this happened. So I think this is actually one of the biggest problems that has to be tackled going forward, is making the models easier to be able to differentiate between who's on what team, right? And being able to pick them up off. Like, I still have a problem with this with character models, and this is maybe going into other things, but the coins sometimes block player models for me, even if I have on the lowest scale possible. And I know that for some iron sights, you can block out character models if you're aiming too high. So I don't know if this is also something that you've experienced, or this is somewhat related to character models. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, back on the other topic. Regards to the team damage, I mean, it's pretty low, so it takes a lot of bullets to kill somebody. So I could understand where like team killing could be an issue, but I mean, it's pretty hard to kill somebody unless you got a shotgun point blank. But as regards for the coins, I like the fact that you can scale them. But I mean, I can't even tell you how many times I've had to yell at teammates to go and pick up the coins across the map. Like, they're spinning and they're gold and they're bright. Like, come on, guys.
We'll get into the economy system in a second, but yeah, like I think that you just made a fair point there about like team damage not really being that much, which is good because obviously team killing in this game is actually going to be more harsh than a team kill in CS:GO because you can't drop guns in this game, right?
That's
so
correct.
If you do happen to get a team kill, it's detrimental. Because, yeah, you can pass coins, but that's not as easy as dropping a gun you already have that you don't have to spend money on. So there's a little bit of a difference there. So one of the other things we'll talk about before we get into the economy system is actually the movement changes, right? Because there's been a lot of changes to movement balancing. Leaning, I think, was like one of the biggest thing. Like, the leaning has basically been buffed. And also jump peeking, I guess to some degree, has been nerfed. So it's a little bit easier to hold angles on people than it used to be when someone jump peeks you. For one, I think they had already addressed this by making the net coding better to where you could actually see each other at roughly the same time. Whereas before, the jump peeker would almost get in like 3 or 4 bullets before you even got to see them on your screen. So that was like a huge problem. But that's basically been eradicated. So now you're about on equal footing on someone jump peeking as far as seeing each other at roughly the same time. And then there's like a takeoff sound, I think, when the player jumps, which kind of gives you an idea that they are going to be jump peeking you. And there's also been some punishment given to people moving if they land while holding ADS and different things like that. So this has kind of changed maybe the dynamics and how people duel each other. You people would know this the most out of scrimming now with these new movement changes. So kind of give me your take on how this has affected you guys in game. Rebirth?
I personally wasn't really bothered by the jumping meta. I was a part of it, actually. I jumped around the corners a lot. I even do it now. I try and take it more strategically now, though, as indeed some people are just holding angles, and it is way harder to just jump around the corner, especially with the movement punishment. Although you can still jump around the corner, zoom in, am prone down and just lie down, which is no problem at all. But it's changed. It's become less dynamic, I'd say.
What about you, Vic? What do you think about it?
Yeah, I agree with that sentiment. It's, I'd say less dynamic, but it kind of feels almost a little clunky. Like when you jump and then you're like stuck in mud. Like, I don't know. Like I get it that there should be punishment, but also at the same time, it's like, I mean, if they're just gonna hold the angle, like maybe jumping around the corner isn't the worst thing in the world, right? Like you're already gonna be making the noise that indicates that it's gonna be a jump. Why punish them even further that they're gonna take a crazy fight, to begin with? So it's, I don't know. I guess
and they can solve it in an easy way.
Yeah.
Sorry for interrupting there.
No,
Go ahead. Have a discussion.
In my opinion, there's a really easy solution. Just nerf in-air accuracy. That's all the game needs. Because the fluidity of the game should not be punished by like adding another movement punishment. There's sometimes it still feels clunky. Sometimes when I've landed for a second, I still have 2 stutters. And I don't know if that's lag or if that's a bug in the game. But if you want to get rid of the jumping meta, which I can get that it's annoying for some people, just nerf in-air accuracy. And
at least horizontal, right? Because I think straight up vertical is probably fine, but
vertical's fine.
Yeah, I think everyone's been talking about horizontal jumping accuracy being a problem. Go ahead, Vic.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. That makes sense. Definitely would make the game more fluid. I mean, it's still kind of cool to jump around a corner and get a crazy shot. So, I mean, not nerfing it into the ground, obviously, but I mean, yeah, definitely reducing the accuracy would be ideal. Yeah, and that it's kind of I think it might be a bug, but if you walk over like off stuff, you get that movement penalty too, which is kind of weird. But yeah, other than that, the leaning buff is amazing. I love that. It was pretty rough before, leaning corners and your whole body would stick out before you can even look around the corner. So, I mean,
I even unbound leaning because of that.
Yeah. No, I did the same. But yeah, that fix was great.
So do you like where leaning is right now? Like, do you think it needs further tweaks, or do you think it's in a sweet spot? Like, kind of maybe, kind of give me a thought on that.
I think it's personally in a good spot. They did increase it by what? I think it was another 15%.
Wasn't it? Isn't it 75% was the number that I saw?
They did 75 in total.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. So they did. Yeah, okay. So they did two buffs, right? Yeah. So the second one feels a lot better than the first buff. I'm pretty sure. Am I wrong? Am I off on this?
I might be off.
You're right. Okay, their actual wording is reduce the amount your third-person player model moves out of cover while leaning by 75%, which will encourage angle holding and jiggle peeking. That's what it says.
Oh, okay.
My biggest problem is I'm a CS player, so I just jiggle peek with strafe, which is not nearly as effective as leaning. And I'm just not used to using lean at all. So that's been my biggest weak point, actually, in these pickup games I've been playing in NA, is like just not being used to lean being even an option in other games that I've played. And then, like you said before, in Battalion, it wasn't even worthwhile to use, but now it is. So I'm having to like crash course how to use it, basically.
Right.
Which I think will be maybe like a learning curve for new players that do come in the game in the future, if they come. Hopefully they come. Please come. But no, I think you've made some good points about leaning in general actually being like worthwhile now and actually having some stuff in the game. But is there any final thoughts on movement? Because I know that this movement was actually like a big factor here. For me, I think I'm still trying to figure it out, because I feel sometimes I notice the changes and sometimes I don't. Sometimes it feels a little bit inconsistent when I get penalties and when I don't get penalties on certain things, because I feel like sometimes I'm able to jump peek into somebody and not feel it at all, and sometimes I just get stuck, like you said, like you're stuck in mud and like it's really hard to recover or get away from something. So I think I'm still trying to learn myself personally while playing, like when it's actually going to impact me and when it's not really that big of a deal. Have you guys felt that way, or do you feel like pretty knowledgeable about when you have to worry about it, when you don't, and your thoughts on that?
I just worry about it all the time, to be honest. You have to take that into consideration, obviously. I
almost get scared the jump peek in situations I normally would want to. I get scared to because I'm afraid I'm going to take too hard of a penalty when I go try to do it. It's almost like a last resort now instead of like my instinct to go for it, right?
Well, it's that risk reward, right?
Right.
You gotta
I
take the
always play
risk,
high
right?
risk, high
Yeah,
reward. So
me too.
if you're going to be in such a situation, well, the chances you're going to win should already be low. That you're going to think about doing it.
Yeah.
I feel like I've only done it as a last resort now. Like if I'm in a 1v1 duel in open space and I miss my initial shot and I know someone's going to push me, then I'll jump peek them to try to get the edge on the fight. But a lot of the other times, my style of play has always been more of like an angle holder, like more defensive, more kind of just like taking smart peeks and like clearing angles
That's
slowly.
that CS:GO mentality.
Yeah, it
right
really
there.
is. It super is. And I think that's how, like, that's why I think there's like going to be a starkly different philosophy on these movement changes and things like that, is because for people like me who had that CS background and maybe people who might come over from games like Counter-Strike, I think it'll make them feel a little bit more at home to have some of these abilities to, be like angle holding and stuff like that. Whereas you still have that option to play like the more fast-paced, arcadey kind of style of play that Call of Duty is more known for, which this game is like heavily based off of, right? So to some degree, I can see what they're going for with these movement changes as far as trying to make it, I guess, maybe a more versatile game and a more accessible game to what people are kind of used to in a first-person shooter nowadays. Whereas to some degree, though, I think maybe they start to kind of make moves that piss off their core audience, like the people who come from Call of Duty who like it the way it used to be, right? So I think it's about trying to find that happy medium that's going to try to somewhat satisfy all parties, but you're going to wind up leaving someone kind of in the dark along the way. And I think it's also just about tinkering over time and figuring out what makes the most sense, because movements change so much from like pre-alpha to now, right? Like all of us who have been involved in the game since like late last year will know just how much, like back when we could only play Matter V1 and we were just TDMing, and like movement back then to where it is now, it's drastically changed multiple times, right? So I feel it's just like an ever-growing process to figure out what the sweet spot is.
Well, the latest change, I can't really remember what they actually did, but they had like a minor fix that changed movement. You could be more precise about it. That one really felt good.
Yeah, I agree.
That one was amazing.
Yeah.
Is it at the other times if you pressed A or D? I think they
Momentum will
explained.
just carry you so far.
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah.
That feels amazing. You can be way more precise instead of just thinking, "Oh, I'll jiggle peek this corner," and then you're way too far out all of a sudden.
Like the momentum of a strafe, basically.
Yep.
Right. So I guess we'll wrap up the idea about movement, since there is a lot to talk about here, but we have a lot we want to talk about outside of movement, is if you could make changes to movement now, what would it be? I know, Rebirth, you mentioned just changing horizontal, firing accuracy, but kind of maybe even reverting back to older movement, but just, nerfing horizontal accuracy. I know that was one thing you talked about, but is there any other takes on what you could do? And then Vic, kind of maybe what your thoughts on what you think should change in movement as well. We'll start with Rebirth.
Not really. I just think the inaccuracy is, well, it isn't a problem. It's just if you want to have if you want to make both parties happy, then my solution would be nerf inaccuracy and just revert to the old movement.
What about you, Vic? What do you think?
Yeah, I'm on board for most of that idea. Yeah, like I said, I'm not a big fan of the clunky like mudness when you jump in. Like I get it that there should be kind of like a penalty, but that's what he's saying when you get into air, right? Like if the accuracy was reduced, that would be enough of a penalty to suffice. But yeah, other than that, I'd like to see the mud feeling probably taken away, to be honest, and just I think it would be the movement of the game would be perfect then.
So do you think like the penalties basically are just too harsh right now? Like, is that like a general consensus?
Well,
I just think it's the mechanic.
yeah, I agree with that.
Even if you'd reduce it to like 0.1 a second, that you would be slowed down. Even then, you'd feel the clunkiness because there's a sudden slow, and you kind of have to get past that point. It wouldn't feel fluid anymore.
Yeah, I almost wonder if maybe the way you could solve it is kind of like what you were saying, where you revert back to old movement, but you change accuracy, and maybe make it even visual, like it takes a second for your gun to settle or something like that when you make a big movement or something. That way, at least you have some type of visual feedback on when you're going to be accurate again, but you don't f up what the movement actually feels like the stickiness feeling or something like that. So that's something I was kind of just toying around with in my own head when I was thinking about it.
That would add another skill aspect to the game too, knowing where your crosshair would be, even though your gun's aiming at the ground. You know what I mean?
I think even Call of Duty 4 had that. I'm not sure actually, but if you jump and like the moment you'd land, you'd see the gun go down and go back up to the center of the crosshair again. But I'm not sure if those bullets were accurate. I'm not entirely sure.
We found the golden solution, boys. We'll pass it along. Brammer, hit me up with that consultant fee. Anyway, we'll move away from movement now. I'll talk a little bit about weapons before we get into the actual economy system. And I think the weapons that got the most changes into MU2 are the bar and the sniper rifle. But there's also been some other small tweaks we can talk about as well. But we'll start with the sniper rifle. So the Springfield, the Kar 98 scoped. Obviously, it is now slower to become fully scoped when you transition into ADS. And so this has made using the gun a little bit more sluggish, I guess you could say. And the hip fire accuracy has also been decreased while moving. So this ties back into like jump peeking people with snipers and being able to no scope a little bit easier before. Now you can't do that as much. I don't know if any of you actually did a lot of scoping. So I don't know. Vic, I know you scope a lot in pugs, but I don't know if that's like what you do for your team or what have you.
I don't do it, man.
Okay. I actually like scoping a lot before, and so yes, I can definitely notice the difference in how quick you can quick scope someone or something like that. For me, it hasn't been like super harsh, but I know some other people who are primary scope players have different feelings about it. In all honesty, I think for me, it's just the way the economy system works. It's not like you get to use the scope often anyway, unless you're like really banking up coins or you're passing them. But
Even then.
yeah, it doesn't really even come out that much right now in the current meta, I feel like. But we can talk about that a little bit later. But just talk about the sniper mechanics itself. How have you felt about it? Or maybe if you don't use it a lot, maybe tell me like which teammate of yours does use it the most, how they felt about it. Rebirth?
On my teammate Qwerty, he's not been loving the changes. Obviously, they've buffed it a little bit after nerfing it. That felt good. I do think it's in a good place. Token-wise, no. But yeah, that's something else. I think the sniper feels fine, to be honest.
What do you think, Vic?
Yeah, I think it feels fine. As for the scope in nerf, it takes longer to scope in. Yeah. It kind of promotes a more campy playstyle,
Sure.
which is annoying. But I mean, you're using a scope. You shouldn't be jumping around corners shooting people anyway. So I get it.
It's the nicest shots though for a montage.
Oh yeah, no, I agree. But yeah, I mean, other than that, the scope used to be kind of rough before the patch, but it's pretty good now. I think it's in a good place.
If anything, I feel like it solidifies the unscoped Kar 98 role more. Because that is the aggressive sniper. That is the one that you can jump in on people with. It doesn't have a scope, obviously, but it has that same like one bullet kill impact. So that's almost like your shotgun sniper type weapon, right? Whereas the official scope is, like you said, a gun that maybe now is a little bit harder to do those types of things with. And also it's more expensive as well as the unscoped Kar 98 or like the M1 Grand or something like that. So I feel like if anything, it kind of locks up those roles a little bit more. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but I feel like I've noticed a lot of people who used to be scope players using unscoped Kar 98 more because it's cheaper, but also because it's a little bit more versatile for how they can use it. Has that happened with your snipers on your respective teams, or have they still been using other stuff?
Only if we had way too many tokens, we would be picking up a car or a sniper. Other than that, I just think the main problem is it's too expensive. It's if you would be at max tokens and you'd buy a sniper, you'd throw away half of your economy. That's just too big of a risk. I wouldn't do that.
Right. Vic, thoughts here?
I mean, I'm kind of lucky that my scope is good with pretty much all weapons. So, in the respect to the economy issue that Rebirth was talking about, yeah, he kind of like. Obviously, we do sometimes do crazy strats, like give them a scope a second round or something like that, just to like try to surprise them. But other than that, we don't really run it if we don't have to.
Yeah, I feel like that's kind of a common thing I've heard amongst the competitive players. But let's talk about a couple more guns before we get into economy. And the first one's going to be the bar, which I think this has been the most drastic improvement in the game, at least for me, as far as like quality of life. Because like before, I felt like when I was using the bar, I was shooting like an automatic potato gun, and it felt so sluggish. I think the biggest thing is when you ADS with it just felt really not smooth at all in comparison to the STG. Also, like the one advantage the bar had over the STG was it could one tap, but then guess what? The STG can one tap now too. So it's like, well, shit, like what even puts these on equal playing field at that point? But now they're roughly the same as far as 3 to 5 shots at range to get a kill, and then the bar ADS animation is a lot more responsive. It feels a lot better. I feel like they're on almost an equal playing field now, the bar and the STG. I think the STG is still maybe slightly better. I don't know what your thoughts are on this. That's what I'm going to ask. But what have you thought about this bar upgrade in MU2, and where do you think it sits now in compared to its counterpart, the STG-44?
I haven't really used it that much, only in publics. Bar has felt better than it was before. The STG still feels really clunky with the rate of fire decrease, even after it got buffed again. I don't like picking it up at the moment, also because of the economy, as it's pretty expensive again. I don't know. I can't really have an opinion about this, as I didn't play it a lot.
Right. What about you, Vic? What do you think about the bar buff and how it sits now?
Well, obviously, it's better than the old bar. I mean, hands down.
What wasn't?
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, after that STG nerf, you would never take the STG over a bar if it was in the ground. But now that they reverted it, I do feel like it's kind of on a level playing field. The STG, I don't know if they should increase the fire rate because they have another 10 bullets. So I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and they both have that one-shot capability. Is the bar 3 at any range, or is it?
It's 3 to 5.
Yeah, bar is 3 at any range. STG is
Yeah.
4. If I'm
So that's
correct.
yeah. So yeah, okay. So I'd still put the bar
right.
a little bit ahead of the STG, just due to the fact that it's 3 bullets at any range. And I feel like the fire rate's a little bit faster. Is that? I don't know if I'm off on that one, but it feels a little bit faster.
Mm-hmm. It does feel a little bit faster. I'll put a disclaimer out there. Like, I didn't play early MU2. I've only played like within the last couple of weeks, so I didn't notice like the rate of fire change on the STG. Like, to me, it doesn't feel that much different than before MU2 at its current state when they've like rebuffed it or reverted or whatever it is that you're saying.
Yeah, man, you missed the really bad nerf. It was pretty brutal.
Right. Yeah,
No
I was like
one
literally
touched that
gone
gun.
all of June, so I didn't get to play at all in June for MU2 at first. So a lot of these changes have, like you said, you guys are updating me on them basically. So that's that. Then SMG MP40 horizontal recoil got slightly reduced. So this was always my biggest problem with this gun, and a lot of the guns actually, was that the horizontal recoil was always just way too insane. And I rather like a more vertical recoil that I can control by pulling my mouse down. Again, I'm a Counter-Strike player. Horizontal recoil is not typically something you have to worry about too much in CS until you get like way deep in your mag, and then you kind of have to adjust left right a little bit. So anyway, what have you guys thought about SMGs now currently with this, recoil reduce?
Personally, I didn't think the MP40 was that bad. I do know there's a lot of players using the fixed view model, which is the close one. And I wasn't able to control the MP40 when I was using the close view model. Only if I'd used the far away model, I barely noticed any recoil, any horizontal recoil. So I've always loved the MP40, and Thompson is still a laser.
Yeah.
The Thompson is a laser, man.
Yeah.
That gun's crazy. But for the MP40, I mean, it's definitely a buff. Feels good. There's no complaints with it. I still feel, I don't know if it's hard to rank which would be better, Thompson or MP40 at this point, just due to the mag size of the MP40. I don't know why they why they give more bullets, but you know.
I think basically because the gun originally has more bullets.
Yeah, no, it makes
I think
sense.
that's just it.
Yeah, I guess if they want to be historically accurate, yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah,
We
boy,
could
it's all
see a
about
Thompson
realism.
with a drum magazine.
Yeah, you're right.
Jeez.
PPS.
I'll take it. I'll take it.
God, that'd be ridiculous. So, I guess the last gun I want to talk about here before not the last gun, because we're going to talk about the new eco guns when we get to the economy, but the shotguns are the other thing that kind of changed. Their max range got slightly reduced, but their min range damage got increased, so they're stronger at close range than they used to be, but they're weaker at further ranges. Crosshair spread was also decreased, and they reduced the fire rate, but I don't really notice it, to be honest. And it can now hold 6 shots instead of 5, is what the patch notes that came out were. I don't know if this has changed recently, but this is what the original patch notes were for MU2. What has been your thoughts on the shotgun with all of these changes? It's also really cheap now as well in comparison to all the other guns.
I've only been let down by the shotgun.
Damn.
Yeah, me too.
Like, how do you mean? Like, it's not as good as it used to be? You don't find it useful anymore? Like, what's the deal?
I think I'd rather throw the gun at an enemy to inflict more damage than shoot with it.
Wow.
Well,
Is
it that bad?
Yeah. Well,
yes, it is.
They
Yeah.
over nerfed it, man. Like it was one patch ago. Was it one patch? Could be 2 patches now. I can't remember. Anyway, there was it was really, really strong. Like almost too strong. But then they over nerfed it, and now nobody uses it because you get a hit marker a foot away.
See, I was actually scared whenever I first heard the shotgun changes, like the original ones, because I already thought the shotgun was insanely powerful, and while they were saying they were nerfing it, its cost economically virtually meant you could almost always have one, because it was basically the least expensive gun after the old default gun, like the M1 Carbine and the Gewehr. So I'm thinking, okay, like this gun's dirt cheap, so it could be like it could run rampant if it was too strong. But now you're saying that it's been over nerfed. So my question is, you know, what do you think we need to see happen to, you know, get it to a place where it's viable but not ridiculously overpowered?
Personally, I've loved the shotgun. I think it was the first stage of MU2, what Vic said. That shotgun the rate of fire was perfect. The 6 bullets were perfect. Spread was perfect, and I think the shotgun now has a standard. I don't know how to call that in English though. If you shoot at a wall, the bullets always go to the same place. And yesterday, something happened to me that I literally shot someone in the upper torso from, well, I think he was standing next to me. Didn't get a kill. It never actually registers it properly. That's what it feels like. It just feels really clunky at the moment.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like there's any spread really on the bullets. No. And it's yeah, like even when you shoot it at the wall, it's always like in a clump. There's no spread at all. So it's even at close range, it's not really effective unless you're like dead on the guy's head or, you know.
Right. See, I personally just hate shotguns and wish they weren't in the game at all. Like, that's like I'm so much different than anyone else about shotguns, man, because I know shotguns like always had like its role in old Call of Duty titles and stuff like that. But the way I always viewed the game was like my SMG should be my up close option, my bar SCD should be like my medium range option, and then the Kar 98s and stuff like that should be my far range option. And I think that every gun then kind of has its role, so to speak. Whereas I feel like the role of like the SMG and the shotgun almost overlap to an extent on like how you'd want to use them. Obviously, SMG has more range than the shotgun, right? Like it even kind of stretches into medium range to a degree, the way it currently operates. But I don't know, to me it just feels like there's overlapping roles almost between those two guns as far as what they're most useful doing until they go head to head in a battle, and then like depending on how far away you are, like the shotgun should realistically one tap, whereas the SMG is going to take a couple of bullets, right? So I'm like drastically different than anyone else about shotguns. I've personally never really liked them. But I know that people do, and I know that it could have a place in the game if it was tuned, and I think you guys have kind of already given an idea on where you'd like to see it, like how it was originally. Like at the very beginning of MU2, you thought it was fine, and you'd like to get back there. So what do you think the shotgun's role should be in the game in comparison to like an SMG, which is theoretically similar ranged weapon? Like, what do you think the difference should be between those two guns, I guess?
Hard question. I wouldn't even know the answer to it. I personally always prefer the SMG on allies, and just kind of grab a shotgun on defense, as you just be waiting for the enemies, and especially with this map layout where it's just tight angles and small alleys that you move through. Shotgun can be really powerful on defense, but I wouldn't pick it up on allies.
All right, what about you, Vic? What are your thoughts here?
With regards to the Axis versus Allies argument, yeah, I agree with that. There's not really a reason to take it on Allies. I've never seen it used effectively on any map, to be honest. But yeah, to make it in a better place, it's hard to say, right? Because you don't want to nerf SMGs, because I think they're in a good spot, but you just have to make it so shotguns are effective at super close, and not at anything past that.
Fair enough.
That's basically it.
There you go. Nailed it. Okay, so last thing about weapons is that we did have some sound upgrades, I guess you could say, to all of the guns. Kind of quality of life stuff, maybe just to make, kind of like to go along with the graphical update to make the game maybe more modern or just feel and sound better. Do you guys have any thoughts really on sounds, or doesn't really matter to you, or you've liked them? What have you thought?
I've liked them all along. I think it's more of a casual thing. They do feel more real, especially the Gewehr. That sounds like the Barat 50 cal from Call of Duty 4. It sounds like it's way too powerful, but then again, it's just at a good spot. But other guns are fine. They're good.
What you like the gun sounds? They good?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with them. I like them. None of them are too like ear piercing, so that's good. I agree with the Gewehr noise. It's loud. It's great. I specifically like the headshot noise.
Yeah,
I love that. That's so rewarding, man. I love it.
No, I agree. I think it's cool to get some instant feedback about that. So another thing to talk about is there's new smoke grenades, right? Which to me was huge because I hated the old smoke grenade. I think everyone hated the old smoke grenade, especially because I'm a guy who likes to like learn new smokes. Like I've always been kind of like that kind of guy who likes to tinker with like strategy and stuff like that and figure out like where I can put a smoke and how it can be used. And the other old smokes were just like super inconsistent. The way that they would kind of like sway almost over time means that at some points while the smoke was up, it would block, but then other times you could see around the edge of it. So it's like super inconsistent on how much value you get out of it. Now they seem way more consistent. They're much bigger, but I know that some people have still had issues because when you like run through them or something, the way it like covers your whole screen and stuff like that. So people have kind of had issues with that when you're like coming out of a smoke and you can't really see, but people can see you, and that kind of being an issue. But in general, what have your thoughts been on this new smoke grenade and how it's kind of impacted your tactics, so to speak?
Smokes have been amazing. I remember one time on Twitter that I asked Bremerton for a preview of the smokes, and he wasn't able to provide a picture or anything, but he said, imagine a wall of smoke. And I think that covers it perfectly. It's sometimes I'd say it's too big, it covers too much, but then again, I don't mind it. And in regards to the issue that your screen would be covered, I don't think that's an issue.
Okay.
In reality, if you run out of a smoke, you'd need to adjust as well. Your eyes would need to adjust. That's basically using a smoke grenade properly.
So there you go. Yeah. So good, but maybe a little bit too big was your thought there. Vic, what are your thoughts on this smoke grenade?
I agree with the interaction. I know that you mentioned something about somebody running out of it and them seeing you before you see them, which I agree with, to be honest. I mean, you shouldn't really have the advantage coming out of a smoke grenade. I know that there was a weird glitch where if you laid down in the middle of one, you could see through it. I think they fixed that. No, they haven't fixed that. Okay,
Not perfectly though.
Yeah,
It happened to me yesterday as well.
that's an
But
issue.
yeah, man, it's a lot better than it previously was. I personally like the size of them. Yeah, no complaints here.
Yeah, I remember the most
I-
frustrating one was I was trying to smoke top mid on Manor V2 to push a barn, and the old smoke, it was so hard to line that up properly from anywhere other than just throwing it right out in front, like from the wall. But if you try to like throw it like any type of run jump from spawn or something like that, it was just like impossible. Now I feel like it is possible, and I think that I'm always a guy that likes there to be tactical depth to a shooter game like this. I think that's what I enjoy most about it. Yeah, seeing people hit crazy shots is always a lot of fun, but when someone comes up with like a really cool execute you've never seen before, that's what I really thrive on. And so smokes being more effective, I think, allows people to build more tactics for this game and maybe make their playbooks a little bit deeper, and we get to see a lot more of strategy in this game. Has that been the general feeling? Like, have you, when you sit in the server and you're coming up with shots to your team, has it been easier now that you have smokes you can rely on?
Definitely. Yeah, I'm the type of guy to go on a server and throw nades and smokes for you for hours and hours. Smokes just feel way more useful. I'd even argue that smokes are more useful than nades at the moment. So that's why I wasn't a big fan of the 2 token for a nade change. But yeah, smokes have felt great.
Yeah, all right. Well, that's that. There's also been some map changes that we can talk about, like really briefly. I don't want to hang up too much of this because they weren't really that major. For one, we can't even really talk about Invasion or Savoia because they're not even playable right now in MU2, to my knowledge. None of the pugs I've played have been able to get on those maps, and I think most people have been telling me they can't play them yet. Are they even at the map pool for Gallantry, or is it just the other 4? Okay, thank you,
Nope.
Rebirth. All right, so only other maps to talk about then is, well, first of all, Liberation, Derailed haven't changed at all, I don't think. Since, like, okay, so we don't really need to talk about that. Manor V2 did get some changes. Actually, they named me in the patch notes, funny enough, about the changes to Manor V2, because I made like a video about the map and what I thought about it, and they actually added a little bit more cover on the A-bomb site and kind of flattened the terrain in that corner of the A-bomb site, and they removed the boost boxes at the barn, which I think was huge because that was ridiculous having to clear that angle as an ally coming into that A-bomb site. So I'm happy they removed the boost boxes, and I'm happy they added a little bit more cover in the A-bomb site. Apparently they credit me for those changes, so thanks to you boys over there at Valkhead. Has this impacted your play on Manor V2 at all, these changes on the A-bomb site?
Yeah, the map's just changed. Defending A has been easier, but overall I think Manor is a good map. I like the map. The only thing I do not like is there's a small bit of grass that is blocking a shot towards A barn if you stand in the pit at spawn. Vic probably knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I'm very familiar with that.
Please
So, cut the
remove
grass.
that patch of grass.
There you go.
Please.
There you go.
It's
Hear
been
his
in
cry,
there
Brammer.
since the first alpha.
There you go. Tell him. Vic, your thoughts on Manor V2, these changes that have come in MU2, small changes to the A-bomb site?
I mean, I just had to find a set nade for the hay barrels. That's it. I mean, the hay bales. I mean, it was good. But I mean, realistically, that map, it's kind of hard to take A. Once you're like, I don't know, to execute on that site, you almost need to have 4 smokes. Like, you need to have a smoke for mid when you initially start the round.
To get into
Then
A-barn,
you need,
yeah.
you know, and then you have to smoke trench, smoke their spawn, re-smoke mid to get into A barn.
Also, I think the other problem is that while you can smoke the spawn
Rebirth's
gate,
looking at me like, no.
yeah, you can smoke the spawn gate, and you can smoke top mid to get into A barn. You can smoke trenches, but then people can just peek you over trenches from like rotating from big barn and stuff like that as well. And I propose that you put like a bridge over the top of trenches that you could land a smoke on top of that would also block off those rotations. Like if you wanted an extra smoke. So that was my thought on how to fix this problem. That didn't get through, but hey, some of my other stuff got through. So again, hats off to you, Bulkhead. I'll accept that consultant fee in the mail soon. But anyway, yeah, I get what you're talking about as far as like it's hard to implement smokes properly on A to actually take the site. I will say
they just need to make a change to A barn though. A barn, it's too tight of an angle to go through.
Yeah, you just spam the smoke.
Yeah, I think we played 2 scrims yesterday, and Nada just sprayed 2 people down 2 times. It's so easy. It doesn't even matter if you smoke.
Yeah.
I honestly would argue it would even be better to not smoke and just jump it with the 2 of you and surprise peek the guy, because you will get sprayed down. You will get tagged regardless of the smoke.
Has it not been a little bit easier coming out of A barn since they removed the boost boxes that was there? Has it? It's still just as difficult as it was before. That didn't help at all.
Everything can be difficult, to be honest. Yes, Axis can be waiting there, but I think the haystacks are favorable for both sides.
Yeah,
Yes, Axis
It's a
can
good post plant position.
Yeah, it is. It's a good hiding spot for allies that want to go into the side as well. If they get over or Axis if they get overrun. But allies can use the haystacks as well, because it's a good spot to cover the spawn trench and what we call that the upper bit jungle.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So the other map that got a lot of changes was actually Coastal. Basically just because they added 2 new buildings, I guess, was the biggest thing. Like, there's a new broken building on the coastline. There's a new broken building, like, near Connector and Broken Wall over by Middle. And then my favorite's actually a story from Fox Rocks, Vic. You'll appreciate this, your teammate.
I can't wait.
I was like, we were running through the map because I was getting him to kind of like update me on some of the map changes and stuff like that, and just like help me because I wanted to start casting again for some stuff coming up. And so I wanted to like make sure I knew like all the names for different spots and stuff like that. And you know, he was telling me, yeah, like we just call this like new building or like you know, coast building or whatever, and then like, you know, broken building by broken wall. And I was like, all right, that's easy. I was like, what do you call this building inside Allied Spawn? Like this new building that you can get in the second story and watch the broken wall in the middle. He's like, you know what we call that spot? We call that, hey, there's still fucking Spawn. Like, that's what we call that spot. So that's a little bit of rage in that guy, Fox Rocks, a little fiery guy. So that apparently that spot's called "They're Still in Fucking Spawn." So, what have your thoughts been on these like new buildings being added to Coastal? Have they impacted your play on the map or what have you?
Definitely, yep. Coastal's been, well, it was already mid-oriented. The new connector house, as you would call it, I think the addition is good, as it allows more of a strategic plan. Like you can flank A easier, you can flank B easier, as allies, obviously. The new coast house, I don't really get there, so I don't see any practical use for it.
Seems like another spot that Axis can hold from, like when watching coast pushes. Seems like to be like the biggest thing. It also gives you a way to attack back halls into being like into spawn if you wanted to as allies. So I guess it does open up more options for both sides. So I guess
new
it does
sniper houses. I don't use it. If someone kills me from there, I might leave the server.
Yeah,
I guess the biggest thing for me is like now allies have so much vertical options by their own spawn, the peak and the mid. Like there used to be the boost on the tree, which is still there for allies, but now you also have a fucking building you can snipe in the top of, and then also that whole fence line in front of the building I think you can get on top of as well. So it's just like you have so many different peaks from allied side middle now that you can do.
Well, you can't get on it. You can boost behind it, though.
Yeah, that's what I meant. So there's a lot there now, like just from your own spawn and allies. You don't even have to leave spawn to like see a lot of the map. Yeah. So you're not gaining any map ground, but you're definitely able to get more peeks off and stuff like that, like more off angles, I guess, on maybe Axis trying to peek into your spawn and stuff like that.
Well, the good thing about it is you can run around like behind it to get to B without being spotted. I mean,
yeah, the mid cross.
You don't have to smoke the mid every round.
Mm-hmm. That is nice.
So I mean,
Axis can be there earlier though. They can see.
No, it's true. It is true. It depends on the spawns, I guess. But as for the coast broken, like the new coast building, I'm not really sure why they're giving Axis more defense. Like coast is already kind of a bitch to take.
Yeah.
Like especially because they walk 5 feet out of the spawn and they can throw a nade.
Yeah, I guess the one thing you can say about that building, though, is like before the only way you could push was through the alley, which is like a really tight choke point. So the broken building actually gives you a wider choke to attack into as allies if you get up the coastline, right? So it kind of goes both ways, or is that not how it's played out for you?
I think it's more Axis-sided, to be honest. I don't think it helps the allies as much, because you get shot from broken crossing into that too. So I don't know.
Here's the thing, why I want to talk about Coast a little bit was because I feel like when I kind of survey people in the community, most people don't like this map. At least when I've talked to a lot of people, like it's been their least favorite competitive map. So is that the case, or is that just the people I happen to be talking to, or like kind of what are your thoughts on how the maps rank right now as far as like from best to worst? I guess that would differ from team to team on like what your team likes to play and what your team would maybe like not want to play. Teams map pools are going to be different, right? But kind of what are your thoughts on this idea?
From my point of view, Coastal is one of my favorite maps, as
Okay.
it relies on kind of aggressive plays. It's mid-oriented, it's wide open. It requires winning aim battles to get control over the map. But that's my style.
Yeah, that's fair.
Other than that, it's one of my favorite maps. Manor House is a good map. Could use some tweaking though. I'm not sure entirely what. I think Liberation is just needs work. Liberation needs verticality to work, as the midsection is just it's tight angles, it's linear, it's a CS:GO map.
What are your thoughts here, Vic, on Coastal and the rest of the map pool just generally?
Well, yeah, I don't know. Like you said, like winning aim battles is the big one on Coast. It's not really strategy oriented. Like it is kind of, but it's a lot of just aim duels, which I respect. I like that. But yeah, I don't know. I'd like to see a few changes maybe to it. Like I said, I don't really know what, but yeah, definitely a few. As for Liberation, yeah, I agree with the middle needs to be changed. And that spawn arch is pretty crazy because you can literally throw a nade from the Axis spawn to the Allied spawn, like not even leaving their spawn. So that needs to be changed. They need to add some skyboxes or something in there. Liberation, or I mean, Derailed. I'm actually okay with Derailed. I know a lot of people aren't really a fan of the map, but I really like it. Especially with the new update, I think Allies is a lot stronger on it now.
Yep.
So it's easier to. I think it's more evenly. It's not so Axis sided anymore.
Yeah, I'm
So,
curious about that actually. I was gonna ask because like me, Lex, and Hero were the ones that like promoted the addition of that tunnel that allies have to get to courtyard instead of having to run through mid to get to courtyard. So you kind of are able to avoid the set nade top mid to still get into courtyard and at least start taking peeks into mid if you want to, or cross short B a different way.
right.
Has that been helpful? Like, has that? Because here's the thing. Like with Derailed, I feel like Derailed is the most set nade dependent map of all time in the game because essentially you had one or two things happen. Like at least from my perspective, watching games on it, it was always either like allies were huddled up waiting for a set nade at top mid, which gave Axis the ability to get like cinema control very easily, or get into like broken building by short B very easily because you just got delayed for so long as allies. If you ever wanted to go B, you had to wait forever because of fear of nades, and then basically Axis get way too much control of B for free before you can even really do anything as allies. And then the other way around was like before you could set nade top middle as Axis, allies could just rush B before Axis can even get out of into the B bomb site, like because set nades and stuff would block off like secret and like the main entryway, and so you'd have to basically play retake B as Axis almost all the time. It's like these two extremes.
Well, again, it's tight angles. It just relies on tight angles. B short, like the alley at the broken building, is a very tight angle. From the bomb onto the site is a tight angle. The little alley at the back is a tight angle. Everything is tight angles. They have to, in my opinion, make it more open.
Okay. Because is this accurate what I'm portraying? Like it was like two extremes based on a set nade at top middle, basically, as far as how the B bomb site worked for each team, or has it not been that drastic in what you've been seeing so far in scrims in this MU2, or what do you think?
I don't know. I think Derailed is in a good spot because of the 2-token nade increase.
Yeah, it's harder to set nade as Axis.
As Brammer said, you need to make a conscious decision about buying a nade. I'd still do it, but people just don't know enough nades yet, or haven't shown them yet, to actually spam the bomb sites still. I know there are some teams that do spam bomb sites, but I haven't really seen it's been that big of an issue.
What about you? What do you think? Last notes on Derailed there, Vic.
Yeah, no, I agree with the nade changes. It definitely evens out the map. And the new smokes. That's the big thing, I think, for taking sites now. Just because they cover so much, it's a lot easier to get into a site, take it. And I mean, I think it was Allied sided for a while there with just how cheap the Tommy guns were. That was pretty crazy. I don't know what they were thinking there, but yeah. As for the mid tunnel, you could still setonate it, but like you said, it's a pretty heavy investment to get more than like 3 nades. So
Yeah, so if you're setinating the new tunnel, then that means you're not setinating top middle, and it's giving people access to cross. So it's like you have to pick and choose your battles on what you want to delay
Or you
timings
can do
on.
both.
Yeah, I guess, but that's a
true.
really expensive investment, right?
But I do want to make one small reference. I've seen one Reddit user who made a thread about improving Derailed.
Yeah, he's made one for like every map so far.
Yeah,
Or he's working on all the maps.
there's a lot of good ideas by him actually. I think I've seen the Derailed one yesterday. Also, he said that it just kind of needs verticality as well. That's, in my opinion, that's what Battalion is lacking at the moment. It's linear, it's tight angles, and there's no verticality, so there's no other spots to aim from.
Yeah, that's true. I think we'll definitely have to keep our eyes on that and see if it, because I feel like so far one of the things you can say about Bulkhead is they've been very willing to tinker things. Like they haven't been so set in their ways or so stubborn that they won't make a big change or a drastic change to their game. Like the economy has already been way different. Maps have taken significant changes. Guns have been tweaked multiple times over the last few months. So I think that that's always been like one of the net positives of the whole experience is that it feels like you actually can have a say in the direction of the game, which is good and bad because it can cause for there to be like a blurred vision of the future and it can hold things up, but at the same time it allows us to have feedback. And let's get into the economy now because this is like the meat and potatoes. I feel like obviously the big thing about the economy system is, for one, there's a new eco weapon which you get for free, which is basically a weak SMG. Which is like the grease gun, and then the MP 28, 48.
Yep.
I can't remember.
MP 28.
There you go.
Yeah.
So that gun's free, and then the old eco gun, the Guerra and the M1 carbine, is now 1 token. So you can almost always buy it, really, unless you're saving up for something later. You feasibly can always afford to buy that gun if you want, because it is the cheapest gun. So what has your thoughts been on the place of these two guns? Because personally, I hate the free gun a lot, and I think a lot of people hate the free gun. But what are your thoughts on these two guns right now in the current economy system?
The Guerra and the Carbine have felt really good. I just don't like the iron sights though. Most of the time when I'm shooting someone, I kind of lose track of them, and that's also due to the player model visibility. But I don't know, it's the iron sight that is bugging me a lot. As for the eco SMGs, it feels like I'm playing PUBG when I'm using them. It feels like they have a bullet travel time or something. They just don't feel responsive at all. I do think that the rate of fire increase on both of them does feel good. They're in a, I wouldn't say they're in a good place. They're in a better place, but not in a good place yet.
What about you, Vic? What do you think about these free guns? These free SMGs.
Well, I mean they're free, right? So they can't be too good. But yeah, I agree with the increase of fire. I feel like their damage is low enough that it probably wouldn't be too big of a deal if they up the rate of fire a little bit. As for the Gewehr and the carbine, I feel like the Gewehr is in a pretty good place. I do like the iron sight on it actually. The carbine's kind of weird. It feels like the first shot is accurate to where I'm actually aiming, and then it just kind of like drops down to where the crosshair is. I don't know. Maybe it's just a personal thing, but it doesn't actually feel like.
But it's been bugged for a long time.
Yeah. Okay. That's
the bullet doesn't go where it's supposed to go.
Yeah. So yeah, so that's like.
Thank
one of my
you.
only
Now I have an
complaints with
excuse
that.
for why I blow. I could be like, the bullet's just not going where it's supposed to go, guys. Like, I don't know.
Well, I
Appreciate
know
you
some of
giving me
my
an out.
teammates have actually provided proof of it,
Yeah, okay.
but I don't know.
I'm gonna start
I
using
think
Yeah, it
that in
Lughat
needs to be
pubs.
says
addressed for sure.
it's an excuse.
No, I think just to give my quick take on it is I just wanted to focus on the free gun really quick. I think it's fair enough that it should take way more bullets to kill someone with it because it is free. But I almost have the same problem with it I had with the bar in the past, where it feels like it's sluggish to ADS with, and also I've noticed compared to like any other gun in the game that's automatic, it feels harder to make adjustments mid spray in comparison to like an STG or a bar or any, like I said, any other automatic weapon in the game, where I feel like I can make adjustments as I'm spraying, whereas it feels like delayed or just sluggish almost on the free gun. Like it just doesn't feel as crisp. Like I said, it's almost the same issue I had with the bar before they updated it for MU2, and now the bar's at a good place as far as how it feels. It just
That's the
doesn't
fire
feel
rate,
right.
man. Yeah, it's the fire rate. That's the big thing. That's why it feels sluggish. Like you can't really transfer when the fire rate's so low.
Yeah. So that's kind of where I'm at. But as far as anything else, I mean, I almost never use it. I almost always just spend the one coin for the Goera, the carbine, because I just feel like I'm not effective any other way. But that's just like me personally. But now we'll get just into the real meat of the economy system, which is how the rest of it plays out, right? Because basically next up is the trench gun and price, then your SMGs. Then you get into like your bar and your STG. Then you get into like your Kar 98 and M1 Grand. And of course the scope's the most expensive. So as it stands now, I feel like what's happened is that earlier in Battalion, you could almost be like a specialist. Like you almost had like somewhat defined roles. Like you had a defined person who was your scope. You had to define people who were like your SMG players. Like Toxia, your teammate there, Rebirth, was probably one of the best SMGs in the game, next to like Duffer from Article 51, who was also quite good. There's a couple other people who were good with SMGs. Like I think J Money used it a good bit. But then you also had like your people who were like really good with like bolts, like Nala or something like that was quite good with it. I remember.
Still
And
good with it.
yeah. So Klimaxu and other guys are also quite good with it. So like you had like almost specialized roles that everyone would kind of fit into, and you would usually have like almost one guy always playing default for nades. You'd have a scope, and then you'd have like some mixture of like shotgunners, SMGers, and like riflers of some kind. But now I feel like because you can't even really use those guns until like mid-half if you're winning or something, it's kind of killed the idea of a specialist, and you almost have to be able to use everything because you never know what you're going to be able to afford. And that could be seen as bad or good, I guess. Like you have to be a more versatile player now. But what has your thoughts been on how like the economy progresses throughout the game? This is where you can just really kind of let loose on your thoughts on the economy system as a whole, I guess.
I like the economy system. I just think it needs a bit of tweaking, because indeed there's nothing more enjoyable for a casual player to watch than someone popping off with a car or with a sniper. But it's just you barely see them. I personally love aggressive scope players. You never see them. I'm not gonna run around with a 6-token sniper like it is an SMG. Obviously, the gun's not supposed to do that, but still, I think there should be room for making weird plays, and there's just no room. I think we played a game yesterday where a team saved 8 out of the 15 rounds that they played, simply because they had an STG or a bar or whatever. It just the game's become so much more stale because people are too afraid to lose their guns, and then they can't buy the next round, so they'll lose another round. I don't know. I like the idea of an economy system. I just don't think it's in the perfect place right now. But I also wouldn't know a solution to it.
So like what happens right now currently in like your scrims? Like is it mostly people using like the one coin gun, or people using like SMGs, or like what has it turned into due to the economy system as it stands? I'm just kind of curious because I haven't gotten to see any MU2 scrims in person, so I don't know how things go. So I was kind of curious how it all plays out right now.
In EU, I think people play more aggressive than in NA from what I've seen playing on public servers. We just kind of take what we can get. We kind of spend the tokens we can afford. with like holding back a little bit. Obviously, you're not going to spend all your tokens at once. I'll just take whatever I can get. But
So is it a lot of the 1 token gun then because of this?
Yeah.
So-
Basically, the
Basically.
carbines of the Guerres and an SMG here or there.
Right. And like almost no one progresses past like the SCG or the bar or the M1 Grand. Like most people are behind that. Like you're not really seeing many Kar 98s or snipers basically.
Some people do it. Some people take an SDG or a card. I sometimes buy an SDG, but that's only if I'm a couple of rounds ahead. So I know there's room for it to do so. I just never touch the shotgun. No one should.
Do people prioritize utility over guns, like as far as getting smokes and nades and stuff over affording a better weapon, or how does that work?
I always get donated tokens because I know a lot of nades. But yeah, I would always prioritize utility over a gun.
Okay. Vic, how's it like in NA? Like, is it similar or different than what he's explained?
The scrim scene, yeah, it's there's a lot of saving. It does make it really campy, kind of stale, not the fast-paced gameplay that we're kind of used to. And I mean, the only time we really buy the big purchases is when we're kind of steamrolling the other team, you know, and it's not really rewarding, really, when you're doing that anyway. So, I mean, with that being said, I don't really know how they would change it to make it better. I mean, I'm a fan of the coin system. I really like it. It's kind of unique. I've never really seen it before. But I mean, I don't really know how I'd go about tweaking it either. I've always liked having having one scope on a team. But I mean, you can't really limit a team to having one scope in the current setting. So I don't know how they'd balance that.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's hard to say, but I don't want the coin system to go away because it adds like a unique aspect, but also at the same time we need to figure out something.
I'm super torn on it, actually.
I might know one solution though.
Go ahead. What's your solution?
Instead of just having the like picking up tokens meta is what I would call it now. Why not reward the token when you kill someone?
Yes, thank you. I was about to get in my soapbox and preach this actually, because I do think it's rather silly that you don't get rewarded for far range kills. Because if you get like if you do happen to get a far range kill on someone with like a scope, or even if you just happen to hit like a sick 2-tap with an M1 Grand across the map or whatever, or you hit like a nice little headshot with a carbine or a Guerre, there's no reward for that. Like there's no chance you're getting that token. Like you're never gonna get over there unless
I think that would be more appealing for casuals as well.
Yeah, like you don't feel any reward. Like, yeah, you help your team win the round because you got a kill, you get like a man advantage, so it's still important. But in CS, for example, which I feel like I have to draw comparisons to because it's the only other FPS that has an economy system right now, really, is like you get rewarded for the kill instantly. You know, like it's an instant thing that you get. Granted, it's a very low reward. It's like $300 with most guns in CS, unless you like get like an SMG or a shotgun frag or a knife kill or something like that. But the base is $300, so it's not substantial. Basically, $300 is like a grenade in Counter-Strike. But it does
feels rewarding though.
Yeah,
right?
it still feels like you've gained something other than the advantage in the round. Like you've gained something for your personal economy, which, because you can drop guns, also benefits everyone in your team depending on how much money you build up off of that. Whereas in this game, yeah, it's like I got a kill, great. Never gonna see the payoff for that because their coin's way too far away.
Now I have to run over into a wide open area to grab a token, and I get shot.
The only good thing about it is you can bait the coin for someone who might try to come collect it. And that might get you a second frag or something like that. And that's fair enough, but my compromise was you get a coin for the kill, then you get an extra coin if you get to pick it up. I think it's like a compromise.
That also slows down gameplay, right? Like, when you're just camping coins, it's like, all right, well, who's going to make their first move? Like,
I mean, here's the thing. I get it in the sense that it makes it unique. Like you said yourself, Vic, like you've never seen another game that has like physical currency in game that you can collect and stuff like that. Other than like a kill confirmed game type or something where it counts towards your score if you pick up like whatever the dead body leaves behind. But when it comes to like an economy system, yeah, there's never really been something like this. But do you really want to do something for the sake of just being different and having something unique about your game? Or do you really want to do it right, and actually have something that's practical? Because I don't think that the token system currently is practical. I think the idea of having the economy and having to spend money on guns is practical. It works in Counter-Strike as long as you balance it correctly. But I think that this idea of a physical token in game almost just doesn't seem practical to me.
Well, from a competitive standpoint, it doesn't, right? That's the thing. Like, I mean, obviously they could transfer it over to like a game type or like a normal. You know, there's plenty of options they could change. It's just figuring out what the right one would be. I don't know. It's hard to speculate.
Because easier access to economy would solve a lot of the problems we're talking about, not being able to get to the more advanced guns regularly, like, and limiting the play.
It's true.
So that's one way to approach fixing that problem. The other approach, by the way, and I hope that this is at least an option to consider at some point in the future, is just say, screw the economy system altogether. Let's get back to COD basics, where you have classes and class limits.
Yeah.
I like that. Because, I mean, I think that would set you apart. There's no other FPS right now on PC that does that. Like, I mean, yeah, there's Overwatch that has roles, but come on, that's more of a MOBA than a shooter, right? Like, are we even really going to get into that?
It's a light show, man.
Yeah. And then for Counter-Strike, that's your hardcore economy game. So why can't we have a more arcadey shooter that's class-based, but is, like, just class limits? Like, you can only have 2 SMGs, 2 assaults, 1 scope, 1 Car 98 M1 Grand. Like, you put class limits in, but it also allows people to specialize in roles, which for me, as a caster, is fantastic. It lets me tell a better story when we can start arguing who's the best SMG class player, who's the best scope in the game, right? Like, is Replin really the best, or is it someone else? But, yeah, go ahead.
For casuals, it's, I think, expertise in a certain gun is more enjoyable to watch than versatility. Because versatility is something you cannot really see when you're viewing a game. But you could really see, for example, Noller being incredible with a car, or well, name any player. There's so many good car players. There's so many, like Tokshi is a really good SMG. Why not just let him play the SMG and become good at it? So you know all the ins and outs of the gun, and you'd actually be an expert at it.
Yeah, I agree with you. And then you still have the option for someone to be like amazing at all guns. And then that's an even bigger story to tell in an era that we have like specialized classes. This guy has somehow been able to master them all and be like one of the best players in the world. Yep. So you still get that. That's like what we have in Counter-Strike, right? Like you have your guys who are known as like star oppers, right? Like a Guardian or something like that. Or Kenny S, and then you have like people who are really super sick riflers, like a Cold Zera or some of these other guys, and then you have your guys who can do it all that are just incredible. They like almost surpass the game itself because they're just so good at everything. Simple's probably like the big one, like the game breaker. Like he's just so good at everything. So you could still have that in Battalion, even if you had like specialized classes, because you'd have people who can float between them, and that would make them even more special. But I personally, as like a storyteller, because that's kind of your job as a commentator, I think it makes it more fun if we have set roles and we know what people like to do for a team. Like in CS, it's a little bit more abstract because the guns are the same, but we have like a lurker, an entry fragger, an opper. You know, it'd be cool to have that kind of storyline for this game as well. Like, you know, like you just described with classes. But it's hard to do that in the current economy system, right? Because you like you said earlier, you have to kind of just work with what you got. Right, so maybe you never even get to some of those guns that your players would be so sick to use. Yeah.
So basically, you're saying just revert it to a pro mod.
Yeah.
Call it a day.
Yeah, I think that would actually be not. Yeah, I think a lot of people would like that. Granted, I can get why
I sign this.
Yeah. I mean, granted, I think that I can understand why they don't want to do that straight away. I feel like the economy system has been very near and dear to their heart as a dev team. Like I feel like from the very beginning of this game, they always had it in their hearts to have an economy system. And the way they explained it to me, and I think this is important to like point out to the community to like give a reasoning as to why they have an economy system. The way they built it to me was because it adds depth to the game, tactical depth to the game. There's more decisions that have to be made before the round starts. And it gives something for casters to talk about pre-round because we're seeing how people are buying, how people are spending their tokens, what they're setting up to do. And I get that. And that because that is true. It does add another layer to the game strategically, how you use your money, and it does indeed give casters something else to talk about throughout the game. But I still don't know if that's really enough to justify it. I don't know. That's kind of where I'm at.
I think they just have to find middle ground on this.
Yeah.
As indeed, it adds a lot of depth to the game. But
what if you still had an economy system, but you only use it to buy, utility and like upgraded secondary weapons, like upgraded pistol or something like that. So like you had your classes, class limit, like pro mod, but you still gained economy and you use that for utility.
I see what you're saying. That'd be interesting.
So it's like an in between. Like we get to see these established roles, and we get back to like the roots of what COD kind of was that this game models after, but you still get an economy system and a reason to have it. It still nets you something like smokes or HE grenades or a better secondary weapon or something like that.
So
Yeah, but
will
how
we
would
see
they work that,
Molotovs then?
Yeah, I think that's a. I don't know. I feel like
And
Molotovs are going to be
flashbangs?
very, very, really split the community on that. I think some people would be for it, and a lot of people wouldn't be. I think that's a very divisive topic. But that could be a reason to have an economy system. Molotovs are more expensive than grenades and smokes. Maybe you find a use for it. You obviously can't
I'm
really
down
have
to try whatever.
flashbangs, so that's not really a thing. But yeah, I don't know. That's kind of what I
As
was
long as
thinking
we're not
about.
going to see bouncing betties and sticky grenades and jetpacks.
And here's another thing. Maybe the
Almo
economy system allows you to buy an extra class. Because like maybe normally the class is limited to just 2, but if you have enough money, you unlock a third of that weapon class. Like
work.
normally you can run 2 SMGs, but now you can run 3 because you've bought a third slot. So like there's
That would
ways
add
you
an
can make an
interesting dynamic.
there's a way to make an economy system work while still getting back to the roots of the game and making it more fun for everyone. Because right now, I think that's like the biggest complaint I've had is it's not fun to people because they don't ever get to use the guns they want to use. So I don't know.
Well, I'm sure that there's a big market for people that want to play like an old Call of Duty type shooter, and they just need to market it right, and then make the economy a little bit less clunky, I guess. I don't know how to really explain it, but yeah, they just need to fix it up a little bit, and
Yeah.
I'm sure they'd be able to market the game.
I think as it stands, it's pretty simple. Like it's easy to understand, but like we've just been talking about, there's so many things that stop you from getting to a scope. You know what I mean? There's so many things that stop you.
Yeah,
from
you
getting
gotta
to
have
use it.
that fun factor, man.
Yeah.
Like if you don't have that, what's the point, right?
Right. Yeah. I think maybe we don't. I mean, we've been going like the extreme end of getting rid of it, basically. I think in this discussion, but I think if we were a little bit more conservative, we could just say make it easier to gain economy as a player, or maybe scale down the prices of some of the weapons is another option you could take that would unlock some of this a little bit more.
Well, I like that minor change that you were suggesting, like getting a coin if you kill a player across the map.
Yeah.
I think that would. I don't know. I wonder what that would be like. I think that would help.
Well, because there's a lot of times, for example, what you said, Dust. If you kill someone on long range, you will not be able to get the coin unless you're gonna run in like a headless chicken.
Yeah.
But at the end of a round, if you're gonna kill someone long range, you have 7 seconds to run at him. Well, a lot of times I can just see coins just lying there, not able to be picked up. Like that, if those coins would be granted to the one who got the kill, that would solve a lot of it as well. It's just basically rewarding someone directly for the kill, even though he doesn't have to pick up the coin. I think that is basically one of the things they will have to try.
Yeah, I hear you. So any final thoughts on the economy system before we start like wrapping up the show, talking about these tournaments coming up, or did we get it out?
I think we got it all out.
Did you
I
get it all
think
out of it?
it's in a good.
Yeah, I don't really have a simple solution.
Yeah.
I'd like to see them try a few things. I mean, preferably not before the LAN.
Yeah. I think right now everyone's already
Definitely not.
Yeah. I get what you're saying on that. I think that's true. All right, so let's talk about LAN. So we got Gallantry coming up. This is the European LAN. It's a 6,000 euro prize pool in Budapest in Hungary. It runs from July 13th to 15th, so it's actually coming up in just a few days for you, Rebirth.
Yep.
It's going to have a slot for the Major involved in this, for the Blitzkrieg Masters. The Gallantry champion gets an automatic slot into that tournament, so not only is the prize money on the line and pride and bragging rights and all that's good stuff, but it's also important because it does seed you into the Major right away without having to play any of the online qualifiers. First off, we'll start with your team, Method. Maybe we never got to do this really, but what's it been like getting picked up by an organization like Method? Because outside of Penta picking up a team, we really haven't had a whole lot of like traditional big name esports brands really step in and pick up teams for this game. Understandably so. It's very new and there hasn't been a lot going on. But you guys were able to lock up Method. How has that been, going into this tournament?
Again, I've done nothing for it.
Well, you get to enjoy it though, so tell me a little bit about how that's been.
True. We've only been working with them for a small period of time now, but they've been nothing but great. Working with them is really easy. Obviously, playing for them, I'm proud to play for them. This is the first big organization that I'm playing for. I've played games such as World of Warcraft as well, so obviously I know the name. But yeah, they've been nothing but perfect.
Right. So yeah, it's really cool to see like another organization kind of step in, and hopefully this means that we'll see more organizations trickle in as well, which always is going to help out the scene. But anyway, you're going to this Gallantry event. I would say your team is probably situated as one of the favorites to do well at this tournament and really compete for a top slot. I guess the other teams that are notable are, I'll just run through a couple really quick. Penta is always probably going to be notable just because they're another big organization in the game, and they have like two really good players in Senda and Replin. Replin's probably one of the best scopes in the game in the past, even though I don't know if we'll get to use it very much now under the economy system. And they picked up like Reflexor and Kostya. Is like they've been doing a lot of roster tweaks to Penta. They used to be like a full Finnish lineup actually for a little bit, and then now they have like a German, a Belgian, and they have Mark from the UK I think playing for them at this event. So I think they'll be looked at. The Fuse kids, your former team still has like the leader in Zuma and some different good players from the past. So
Kashking, don't forget him.
Yeah, so they definitely are going to be looking pretty solid. And then we got to talk about Endpoint, of course, the champions from the Blitzkrieg Open. They still contain a lot of the same players like Sus, Fancy, and Saint Six and Icons. Then they've picked up Supreme, one of the former players of what your team is, to pick up for J Money. Well, J Money was like their best player, so that's a huge loss, I feel like. But Supreme's also quite good, so maybe it's not as bad because they've still picked up a really good player to kind of replace him.
Oh, he's not quite good. Supreme is a really good player.
Yes.
I'd argue he might even be the best player on that roster at the moment.
No, I think that's fair enough. And then also like Avenue did really well at the last tournament, but their roster has changed a lot since then, so I'm not sure if that really applies still. And then I guess the other big team is like Demise because of how well they did in the Plays European Community League. Based on the lineup of teams that you see going into this event, do you kind of agree with these names I've mentioned? Are there some other names you'd throw into the hat as like big contenders, or kind of what are your thoughts going into the tournament?
CRG, the
Comrade.
abbreviation for Comrade. I think they're going to be a really well-performing team. I personally think Fi is one of the best players at the moment. I'd still say it's going to be quite random because obviously we didn't really have time to settle down with the meta. Everything still needs some figuring out. There's still a lot of bugs, but the game is enjoyable. I just think that anyone could take it. Even 6G is a really good team. Anyone can beat anyone. A LAN is a LAN, so weird things will happen.
Yeah, it's really difficult, like you said, because before MU2, like going into the Blitzkrieg Open at iSeries, you kind of could tell who would do well just based off of online performances. Like we knew Endpoint was good because they were like the former The Bang members, and they were always doing really well in online tournaments. Penta maybe almost underperformed at Blitzkrieg Open a little bit. I think a lot of people are expecting them to win it or like really play against Endpoint in the finals and like have a good chance to win it, and then they wound up falling kind of a little bit shorter than still placed top 3. But I think a lot of people thought they would be like first or second. But like you said, with MU2, there hasn't been any online competition for MU2 yet, and everyone's just scrimming. So unless you've scrimmed against people and you've gotten to play them firsthand, you don't really know how good people are within MU2. So it becomes really hard.
And obviously,
for me,
people are not showing everything yet.
Yeah.
Prior to the LAN.
So from going into the event, for me as like a commentator, I have no idea what to expect. Right? I think
Nobody does.
Yeah, exactly. So it's really tricky. I mean, Vic, do you have any thoughts here? I know that you used to like follow the European scene before MU2, probably watch like some tournaments and stuff like that. Like, what are your thoughts about this Gallantry event? Do you have any input here?
Well, it's definitely going to be interesting. I'll be watching, but I don't know, man. It's all bets are off on LAN. totally different animal than playing online. People are out of their comfort zone. You know, it's going to be different. I'm excited to watch.
I feel like that's where the experience of some of these guys from like the COD scene will come in, like an Endpoint,
That's
like
right.
Penta, like your team Method, people who have been through this before, you know, back in Call of Duty, kind of have an idea of what it's like playing in a LAN environment, though it has been a long time for a lot of these players, right? Like, I don't know when the last time Davey stepped into an offline event was, you know, it's probably
9
been a
years
long time.
ago.
Damn. So, thank you for that. It's actually a really cool little story there.
He
then.
filled me in yesterday.
Yeah, that's actually pretty insane. So yeah, I think that a lot of people will be watching Gallantry not only to see like who the best teams are and who's going to make the major, but also how the hell are people approaching this game now with the MU2 economy system and stuff like that. I think that'll be rather interesting to follow. So thankfully, like Vic said, I think we'll all have our eyes on it. But yeah, there's going to be a tight race, I think, at the top for that number because there's only one slot available to the major from this event. And
Is
was
it really only one?
yeah, just
Yep.
first
Oh,
place
wow.
gets the slot and that's it. Everybody else has to play in a qualifier. Granted, there's like a million slots for Europe in the online qualifiers,
Yeah,
so I
it's
feel
kinda
like if
crazy.
you don't win Gallantry, it's not the end of the world. Like you're still probably going to make the major if you're a good team because you get like multiple chances to qualify. I think what is it? There's 16 slots at the major, one for Gallantry, one for Fragadelphia. There's like 10 European qualifier slots and
Yeah.
like 2 for North America, and there's like 2
I have
wild
no clue. I
cards.
just need one.
Yeah, you
That's
just
all.
need one of them, so that's all you care about. I feel you. So that's gonna be that. Any other final thoughts on Gallantry before we talk to Vic a little bit about Fragadelphia?
No, not really at
Yeah.
that. I'm just looking forward to the LAN really much. It's been 6 years for me that I played on an offline event. So yeah, just really looking forward to meeting new people, seeing the old faces as well. Curious to what will happen.
Yeah, I know that some of the staff have actually already gone there. Originally, we were going to have some Gallantry staff members actually on the show, but they are busy setting up for the event right now over in Budapest. They had just gotten there to do setup, so we couldn't get them on the show, which is fine because I'm glad we got Vic on. By the way, Vic's the hero over here, coming in 30 minutes before we did the start the recording. I was like, hey, can you fill in? He's like, Jesus, all right, yeah, I guess so. We really appreciate you, Vic, and we're going to talk about you a little bit now because we got Fragadelphia coming up on the NA side of things, $10,000 prize pool, so actually right up there with like the Blitzkrieg Open and a little bit above Gallantry as far as prize money goes, at least. There's not many teams signed up to my knowledge just yet. I think there's only like maybe 4 or 5 paid teams ready to go for this event. There is one slot for the major up for grabs, and obviously the lion's share of the $10,000 prize pool. Your team sits as probably the favorite to win it, just based off of like online results from before MU2, because you guys did really well in the Plays North American Community League. You won it. And like you said, you were like going undefeated in official matches through the last few months. So I think like Pure is like the other big team going. That's like
Yeah.
Seth and Wilski and Bergie and Paler, Lord Peanut. And then obviously your
Yep.
team is yourself, Disrupt, Fox Rocks West, and Ghost or XLZ.
We're working on getting a new fifth actually currently.
Oh, you hate to see it.
Yeah.
Hit up your boy Dustvic. Apparently,
Yeah,
I'm
there
not
we go.
going as a caster, so you can hit me up as a player. Then Dirty German's Motivate team has also been signed up for the event.
Yep.
So what are your thoughts about this Fragadelphia event?
Well, I'm excited, man. Be nice to see all the faces I've been playing online with for how many months now? You know. it'll
Yeah,
be
I got
good.
to see Fossrox in person at DreamHack Austin, actually.
He's a lanky little guy. Isn't he?
Yeah, he's a nice guy. And then I saw Doggo, who isn't playing anymore, unfortunately. I saw him in California a couple of weeks ago. So I got to see a couple of
Yeah.
faces, but yeah, it'll be cool for all you guys to get together in Philadelphia.
Yeah, man, I'm excited. Hopefully there's a decent turnout. You know, I don't want the LAN just to be one day. You know, it's quite the travel for one day. But I mean, there's definitely going to be some good teams going. And like I said before, it's a LAN. It's all up in the air. You know, nothing's a for sure thing. Even though I'd like to think that we're going to take it.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like I said, your team's situated favorite. Again, a major slot on the line, so it's important. It's also the first North American LAN for this game because we obviously have already had Blitzkrieg Open over in Europe. I think we had, like, another smaller LAN in Europe as well for Battalion, like, just after Blitzkrieg Open in our
The
series.
Maltese one.
Yeah, the Maltese
Yeah,
one.
yeah, yeah.
And there's also been a lot more online competition for Europe than NA so far. as far as like the amount of online tournaments available, mostly because like the 6G cups and stuff like that in Europe.
Yep.
And then obviously you have Gallantry, and then of course the major will be in your neck of the woods, Rebirth. So I'm sure you're happy about that. Hopefully you get
Yep.
there.
10 minutes by bicycle.
There you go. Damn. All right. Well, just strap your PC on the back of your bike and ride it in to the LAN center.
Could
There you
do.
go. Could do.
Could very well do.
And then yeah, so for North America, it's been kind of a barren wasteland, to be 100% honest with you. It's been really bad for NA actually so far. It's kind of sad, really. I think Europe doesn't really realize like how bad NA has actually been because, for one, even before MU2, you couldn't queue the game. Like,
No.
you couldn't play. Like, you literally could not queue matchmaking in NA. It would never get you anywhere. So you could only play private pickup games like in Discord servers.
We're
Which
struggling
Vic,
out here, man.
yeah, Vic's Discord channel is now the de facto pug server on Discord for North American players, and some Europeans chime in every now and then, actually.
I even tried to help with the, I think Lex and other
Yeah, the revival
North American
movement.
streamers. Yeah, I even tried to help
lasted
with
about
the
a
revival,
weekend.
but
Lasted about a weekend. I wasn't even
It's
home
hard
when it
for you guys.
happened. I was like at a CS event when it happened, and when I came back, it was already dead. So there was like this really weird, stupid, dramatic power struggle among Discord channels. It was like the most dumb thing I've ever heard of in
Yeah,
my
it was
life.
weird, man.
But it was so silly. It was like the dumbest thing ever. But anyway, like the NA community still has like 20 to 30 active players playing pugs and like 4 active teams scrimming, basically. From what I've heard, it's been really difficult. But hopefully Fragadelphia sparks a little bit more interest in the North American scene for teams to, get together and play. I thought itself it would just do it because there's a major slot on the line that would kick people in the gear, but it really hasn't as much as I thought. People are still not really prioritizing it too much in the NA scene just yet.
Nobody knows. That's the problem.
Nobody knows what do you mean? Like nobody knows about the game, or?
No, well, nobody knows about Fragadelphia. There'd probably be some more teams showing up if there was more, like advertisement about it. Like, I mean, any of the Call of Duty players would jump on that. Like, I mean, look at the past lands. Like, they were always full. So, I mean, I don't know. Maybe if they advertised a little bit, they'd get some more teams to sign up.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Like, you really haven't seen too much Fragadelphia stuff posted around social media and like Reddit and stuff like that. Gallantry's been pretty well promoted. Most people know about that. There's a lot of teams that signed up for it. Like, what, 16 to 18 teams signed up for Gallantry? Somewhere around that number?
17.
17. Good luck with the bracket on that. Whew, 17 teams. It's always going to make things tricky for someone.
They'll manage. They'll
figure
manage.
it out. But yeah, for Fragadelphia, it really wasn't as publicized, I guess you could say, maybe as well as it could have been. But I'm not sure how much of a difference it would have made or not. I don't know. It's tough. It's tough. At least we get an event, and maybe this event is what kickstarts people paying attention to Battalion in North America. The game's just been through a lot of struggles in general.
Dream, right?
Well, the game's just been through a lot of struggles in general, right? We've talked about this on former episodes of In the Trenches with Davey and Lex, where it's just like, because that initial early access release went so rough, it really did like kind of put a huge and thick ceiling on how much the game could grow early on.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we've just been trying to play recovery mode ever since then. And NA just happened to get impact the hardest because it already had the lower player population to begin with in comparison to Europe. And so when that whole early access situation happened, we took more of the brunt of it, I feel like, on the NA side.
Feels like it.
So I think that's just kind of, we're still suffering from those same ripple effects, basically. It still hasn't, coasted out yet. And it probably won't until we actually get a full release of the game and everything gets fixed up and it gets promoted more and marketed more. Because as of right now, the game doesn't get marketed.
MU3.
Yeah.
MU3 will do the game justice. Even in Europe, we feel the reduced player count. As normally, I'd stream the game during the day, but unfortunately, I'm not able to anymore because the player count's just too low. And sometimes we even struggle to fill one server as well. So we do feel it as well.
Like, you literally can't even DM. That doesn't exist in Battalion right now for MU2. Like, they're not populated. Like, you can't even go deathmatch. Like, it's just not a thing. It's just like pickup games or scrims, and that's basically it right now. Which is a little bit depressing. But like you said, hopefully future updates will kind of fix that. Because like you said, right now they haven't really even marketed the game anymore. And I kind of wonder what happens once they get the game to a spot they're happy with and they do actually start really promoting it again with like Twitch streamers or just marketing in general. Maybe like free weekends for the game to get people to come in and try it, or whatever option they decide to take from a marketing standpoint. We'll have to see.
They
if
said
that's...
they had a big budget, right, for marketing still, so I'm not really too concerned once they iron out all the kinks in the game. I feel like it'll sell itself at that point.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously people are going to have the bad taste in their mouth still, but I mean, I don't know. I feel like the updates will do it justice, and I think the game will bounce back.
There's
And I
definitely
don't think
core audience that
it's a
still has
bad
hope.
thing, dude.
Go
Like,
ahead.
I don't think it's a bad thing that they're not advertising the game at the
Oh
moment.
yeah, not right now, for sure. Yeah, absolutely, I agree with that.
There's a lot of people still commenting with the dead game and etc. It's not a bad thing that they're not advertising it now, because they don't have to do it. They shouldn't do it, because it'll. I don't think those players will come back to the game then.
Yeah.
First, just make the game good again, and then market it.
Yeah, I guess the only part that's scary for me as we kind of like wrap up this show by just talking about like our thoughts in the future of the game is that, yeah, I get you don't want to market or promote it too much right now until you fix the game up. But the bottom line is that like these tournaments coming up are going to have streams. They are going to be broadcasted. Well, at least I know Gallantry will be. I have no damn clue what Fragadelphia is doing. Like they're like
I don't know either.
I'm the only North American Battalion caster, and I haven't heard word about this event, and it's in North America. So you tell me what's going on with that event, because I don't know. So I'm not trying to take shots here. Maybe they do have some commentators lined up that want to give the game a shot, and that's fair enough if that's the case. But I literally haven't heard anything about the event from a broadcasting standpoint. But I assume it'll have a stream, just like Gallantry will. And Gallantry, I know, is using like Mitch Mann, who's been doing a lot of Battalion stuff online and did Blitzkrieg Open and stuff like that. So they have some casters lined up, and they're going to have a stream. But you kind of wonder what viewership's going to be like for these events, because there hasn't been that much marketing. And if anything, this is a marketing tool. It's a live broadcast of the game in its MU2 state to let people see what it's all about. And this, in theory, would be how you get people's attention, is by these tournament streams. But I don't know if that's really going to happen, because I know personally when I was casting online tournaments like a few months back, some of the first ones would get a couple of thousand viewers because people were curious. But it died off to about like 200-300 viewers by the end of it all. And I don't know what these tournaments are going to be like. So that's what I'm concerned about, because I feel like this is where you want to start getting eyeballs on the game, is at these tournaments. So I'm kind of curious how that gets promoted and how many people actually tune in and check it out. Any thoughts on this, like from your side as far as like stream viewership and stuff like that goes? Not a concern? Don't really care? Or kind of what do you think?
No, I'm not too concerned yet. I hope like the Gallantry LAN will get as much viewers, obviously, as they can get. But I wouldn't mind if it didn't really have that much. I'd focus more on the major.
I'm sure that is the big focus, yeah.
Yeah, the major is going to be, well, it has to be the big spark again for Battalion. And I'm sure the devs will do good. Will do anything necessary to make the viewership, like, to get it to the highest.
Yeah, I think like almost the philosophy is for these events to kind of be test runs to like get production and broadcasting down pat with the new version of the game and polish that up for the major when it really matters the most. When that is theoretically when eyeballs will come around, just because they'll see the prize pool and be like interested by that alone. Like, I know nowadays 50,000 isn't actually that big anymore. Like a lot of tournaments, like it's like 100,000 or bigger a lot of the time.
That Fortnite prize pool, holy moly.
Exactly. So I feel like numbers are skyrocketing in esports, but 50,000 is still enough to get someone to kind of maybe take a second look and be like, hey, wait a second, like that's a decent amount of money. Like, let me look into this.
We'll get there someday. We'll get there.
They should definitely capitalize a little bit on the advertisement, though. I think, anyway, especially because that'll just build up the final or the major even more. So I don't know. I feel like the game's in a good spot to begin broadcasting it and putting it out there. But yeah, I don't think it'll blow up by any means.
Yeah. If you need a caster, hit me up. I'm over here. What's up? I'm ready to go. We'll see what happens here. But yeah, so I guess we've kind of really hit everything I wanted to hit, and we are at about like the hour and a half mark, which is kind of what we were trying to shoot for, because I know I don't want to hold up you guys too much. I know, Rebirth, you got to go practice a little bit, got to get some scrims in, and then Vic is like probably just wondering why the hell he's even here, because he wasn't supposed to be here.
I work nights. This is crazy.
No, that's fair enough. So I guess I'll just kind of let you guys give like any final shout outs and stuff like that before we cut the show. Rebirth?
Vic, you first.
Oh, okay, Vic. Damn, there you go.
Me first.
There you
All
go.
right, well,
Shout outs.
First, I'd like to thank Rebirth for his wonderful config that he gave me.
No worries.
Yeah,
and
you guys know
everybody
each other, by the way. Like, how did you guys know each other before this?
Just from public battles.
Yeah,
Oh, okay,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
All right, continue your shout outs, Vic.
And everybody over at Vic and the Boys, and obviously my organization, Primal. And my mom. Thanks.
There you go. In Rebirth, any final thoughts, shout outs?
I'll thank my mom as well, obviously.
Oh, of course.
The method for showing interest in the game, which I'm sure is going to be good. Everyone related to Battalion, who's trying his best to get the game off the ground, and of course you, Dust.
Oh yeah, thank you, bro. So yeah, thanks so much everyone for tuning in. Please do go give follows to everyone except for Vic, who doesn't have a Twitter yet, but maybe go follow his org. Give a follow to me and Rebirth, and follow and subscribe for more content. Thanks so much, and catch you next time.